Number 15. Fake murder panic. For those who believe prank versus prank are the most extreme pranking couple, they need to hear the story of Natalie Shalette and Mika Risner. The two took prankings to a sadistic level after Shalette posted pictures in her bathtub covered in ketchup and what appeared to be a knife sticking out of her. Risner sent the photo to his sister, along with a text begging for help and claiming he didn't mean to do it. Naturally, Risner's sister panicked and was telling him to throw away his clothes and the weapon, but during the conversation, police arrived after another family member called 911. Police were able to determine Shalette was very much alive, but the couple were charged with inciting panic. Knowing they'd messed up, they cooperated with authorities, and the case is yet to go to court. While harmless, it can't be denied how sinister this prank ended up being, and it is likely the couple will face a hefty fine or even prison time. Number 14. Don't prank in the seedy part of town. Sometimes pranks sound better on paper than they turn out. Prankster Dennis C. and his accomplices from Jinkies TV had the idea of going to East New York and trying to sell water guns to random strangers. The prank involved them walking up to people on the street and saying they had gats for sale, before revealing they were actually water pistols. As one can expect, many of those pranked did not take it well, and all three participants were subjected to verbal exchanges, being pinned to walls and even punched in the face. Things took a rather dangerous turn when Dennis approached three individuals in a park and commenced the prank. This time, one of the men pulled a real gun and pointed it right at Dennis, threatening him with violence. The panicked prankster quickly revealed he only had a water gun and begged to be let go, saying it was just a prank. The video cuts out there, but it is known no one was seriously harmed during the prank. Number 13. Killer clowns from Earth. 2016 saw a series of bizarre sightings straight out of a horror movie. People dressed in terrifying clown costumes were reported lurking around in the dark in all 50 US states, 9 Canadian provinces, and around 18 more countries around the world. A majority of the pranks were harmless, but there were more sinister cases, including schools being shut down due to threats from clown assailants. One would-be prankster from Berlin decided to scare his friends by donning a clown costume with a hammer. The 16-year-old waited until sundown and then snuck up on a group of unsuspecting teens hanging out in the park. The prank worked, but too well. One of the teens pulled a knife and stabbed the prankster, who crumpled on the ground in pain. After the mask was removed, the group recognized the prankster and the assailant realized his mistake, but quickly redeemed himself by applying first aid to the wound until an ambulance arrived. The 16-year-old required surgery but recovered. The teen's reason to react in such a way may be justified, as the Friday before in Munich, a 10-year-old boy was chased by a clown swinging an axe, causing mass panic in the city and country. The clown craze appears to have died down, and due to similar incidents as the one above, it is likely not to return for a while. Number 12. Prank equals molestation. When you hear a title such as that, we can't blame our viewers for thinking Sam Pepper is the subject. However, this isn't the case this time. In January 2017, Indian prankster Crazy Summit found himself in hot water after the Delhi police began an investigation over allegations of molestation. The reason relates to a prank video he posted in which he would stop women passing by and asking them questions, such as for directions or the time, and then kiss them unexpectedly before running off. Immediately, complaints from the public and even politicians flooded social media and the police stations, accusing Summit of sexual assault. Delhi police did begin an investigation, but charges could only be brought if one of the women featured in the video were to come forward with a complaint of their own. Luckily for Summit, all three women in the video came forward and admitted they were in on the video and were friends of Summit who agreed to participate in the video. Simply, one was meant to gain views and subscribers to Summit's channel. Summit was ultimately released, but his channel suffered. There are still those who believe molestation occurred, but many have voiced anger over him faking a prank video for views. In the end, it didn't seem worth the trouble, and hopefully other channels can learn from Summit's mistake, as well as those who've done similar things in the past. Number 11. Bullied to death. Pranking can have some more sinister motives behind them, designed more to torment rather than to get a laugh. 17-year-old Sergei Kasper had been subjected to bullying throughout his high school life. The brutality of his torment took a tragic turn when his bullies tied Kasper up and stood around laughing as he tried in vain to escape. During his attempt, he tripped and fell against a corner of a desk, which in turn crushed his throat and rendered him unable to breathe. His classmates simply gathered around and laughed, despite Kasper struggling for air and turning blue. Even the teacher didn't intervene, leaving Kasper on his own. The teen died soon after, having suffocated. Immediately, Kasper's family called for action against the culprits, and Moscow police began a homicide investigation. The entire incident was filmed and shows the coldness involved in the incident. Students laughed and no one stepped in to help. Police have declared all the persons involved are facing murder charges, as well as negligence charges against the teacher for failing to intervene. This is a huge lesson for all bullies out there. What may seem harmless can lead to tragedy, and justice towards you will be swift at that point. Number 10. From prank to brawl. Senior pranks have become a common tradition in high schools across North America. It is the seniors class's way of relieving the stress of finals, and just to have fun since it's perceived school officials can't do anything to punish those responsible. Some of these pranks do cross over into the extreme and have unforeseen consequences. Seniors at Monarch High School in Coconut Creek, Florida, started the day off with mundane pranks, but soon things got ugly. Staff and students reported lockers being glued shut and even dead fish found in the vending machines. Spray paint was also found on various windows throughout the school. At lunch, a massive food fight broke out and escalated into a full-on brawl involving dozens of students. Officials and law enforcement managed to get things under control and no one was seriously injured, but there was $40,000 in damages as a result of the pranks. The same couldn't be said at Baldwin High on Long Island in June 2016. Pranksters released hundreds of crickets and lit up several stink bombs into the school. The ensuing panic led to a fight involving 50 students in the school parking lot. Police were forced to use pepper spray in order to break up the fight and several students were arrested. Number 9. Feeling the pressure. Air pressure hoses are used for various tasks, but they certainly are meant to be combined with a human being. Yaqub Sheikh and Santosh Arker would occasionally conduct friendly banter and conduct pranks on one another. While the two were working a Toyota showroom in September 2015, Arker thought it would be funny to insert an air pressure hose meant to inflate tires into Sheikh's rectum. Without hesitation, he grabbed the hose, stuffed it into Sheikh, and turned the machine on. Laughter turned into pure horror for all witnesses after Sheikh immediately swelled up and began violently vomiting. Workers quickly shut the hose off and called for an ambulance, but by the time they arrived, he was pronounced dead. Police arrived on the scene and arrested Arker for murder. According to pathologists, when Sheikh's body was brought for autopsy, the first incision caused air to escape him, similar to a balloon deflating. For those who wish to have fun with an air pressure hose, should take a considerable lesson from this story, as it can lead to disastrous consequences. Number 8. Sam Pepper's backlash. In the world of YouTube celebrities, no one is more controversial than Sam Pepper. Since starting his prank channel on YouTube back in 2010, Pepper has received massive criticism for accusations of sexual harassment during his pranks, which has included pinching unsuspecting women on the street. Things took a massive turn in November 2015 when Pepper released a video titled "Killing Best Friend Prank." Pepper and his accomplices kidnapped fellow YouTubers Colby Brock and Sam Golbach, placed bags over their heads and took them to a rooftop. Brock was in on the prank, and Golbach was forced to watch as a masked gunman pretended to shoot Brock in the head. Golbach began to panic at the supposed death of his best friend, even finding himself unable to look at Brock laying on the ground. Even after the team revealed it was a prank, Golbach remained in hysterics at the shock and horror that had happened to him. After the video was uploaded, thousands of people bombarded Pepper with hate comments, saying he had gone too far. Newspaper Metro even compared the video to an ISIS-style execution, calling it deeply insensitive. A petition was started to have Pepper permanently banned from YouTube and garnered over 100,000 signatures in a matter of days. Pepper later removed the video due to the growing outcry, and his YouTube channel hasn't recovered since. Number 7. Graduation arson. High school graduation is a massive celebration for families as their children finally venture on into adulthood. Students of Roseville, California had an unexpected incident befall their school in May 2014 when the graduation stage on their football field caught fire, destroying the stage and severely damaging the turf. Instantly, students and staff suspected a rival school to be the culprits, since it was deemed unbelievable for local students to commit such an act against their own school. Except the unexpected became the moral of the year when Roseville students, Jordan Loya and an unidentified teen were arrested under suspicion they had lit the fire. Students expressed shock and outrage that fellow students would commit such a destructive act to their own school within days of graduation. Despite the major criminal record both teens were to receive, the school announced they would still obtain their diplomas as they completed their academic requirements to do so. The turf was heavily damaged and it was estimated to cost $20,000 for the stage and $1 million to replace the entire turf of the field. Luckily, local landscapers and other businesses pitched in to rebuild the turf for free, with the school not needing to pay for supplies or manpower. Number 6. Bigfoot manslaughter. Bigfoot has become a legend in North America, with hundreds of people dedicating their lives to finding any proof the creature exists. Randy Lee Tenley of Montana decided it would be funny to wear his ghillie camouflage suit and run towards the highway in order to spook the motorists along the road. Tenley stood on the right side of Highway 93 waiting to pounce, but stood too close to the road. A 15-year-old motorist was unable to see Tenley due to the darkness outside and the suit making Tenley virtually invisible, and struck him at high speed. To make matters worse, another driver was unable to stop in time and also ran over Tenley as he laid wounded in the road. Motorists attempted to aid Tenley as best they could before help arrived, but his injuries proved to be fatal. Police investigating the incident determined the drivers were not at fault since the first failed to see Tenley due to his camouflage, and the second did everything she could to avoid hitting him. The story goes as a warning for those who wish to pull a similar style prank and fuels the type of unexpected tragedies that can occur in trying to play a simple prank. Number 5. The Yes Men. One of the best known and most organized prank duo, Jock Servant and Igor Vamos. The two are your typical pranksters who conducts pranks for views and fame. Instead, they conduct pranks as a political statement and in protest of corporations and capitalism. Their schemes often involve them posing as officials for various organizations, including the WTO, Dow Chemicals, and BP, among others. The duo have even produced 3 well-received documentaries: The Yes Men, The Yes Men Fix the World, and The Yes Men Are Revolting. In the second film, one of the pranks involves them posing as ExxonMobil representatives, resulting in them being invited to Canada's largest oil conference in Calgary, Alberta, Canada's oil executive capital. On June 7, 2007, Servant and Vamos presented a speech concerning the search for alternative fuels. In the ruse, they declared a new fuel called Vivolium. As candles were passed around the room and lit, a video was then showed, interviewing what claimed to be the deceased custodian of EM's corporate headquarters. The punchline was intended to reveal the custodian had died of cancer, and his body was used to produce Vivolium, which in turn was turned into the candles. Unfortunately, a member of the security detail recognized the duo and the video was shut down, and the Yes Men were escorted off stage. While their fame may have foiled them that time, the Yes Men have continued to go strong and have a massive global following today. Number 4. Officer Daniel's Last Call. Pranks can have unintended consequences. A group of senior students from St. Charles East High found this out in a rather tragic turn of events. 5 senior students, only a few months from graduating, decided to break into the school and steal one of the golf carts for a joyride around the grounds. A janitor spotted the teens forcing the door open with lock cutters and called the police. Having been spotted, the teens fled and were long gone by the time police arrived. With nothing to go by, most of the officers left except for Sergeant Daniel Figgins, who decided to keep watch in case the teens decided to come back. Not long after, 2 of the teens returned in order to retrieve the bolt cutters they left behind in their escape. Figgins radioed dispatch and jumped out of his vehicle in pursuit of the suspects. Figgins, who was an officer for 27 years, died from his heart attack before he could reach the hospital. The group of 5 were identified and arrested, charged with felony attempted burglary and felony possession of burglary tools, meaning they could face time in prison. Furthermore, the school was conducting their own investigation to see if disciplinary action should be taken from their end. They were found to not be responsible for Figgins' death, as it was deemed a tragic circumstance rather than the teens being directly involved in the death. Number 3. Halloween Tragedy. Halloween is all about tricks and treats. People around the world go all out in decorating their yards and homes in horror-themed entertainment. Some of the most extreme forms of decorations have been people pretending to hang themselves before scaring the living daylights out of unsuspecting trick-or-treaters. 16-year-old Jordan Moreland of Louisville, Kentucky, decided to attempt the prank for himself to trick his parents and younger sister. Jordan's mother Ginger was alerted by her daughter of Jordan hanging from their tree outside. She remained unfazed at first, believing Jordan was trying to scare them. However, she became alarmed when her daughter revealed Jordan wasn't moving and had drool running down his face. Ginger rushed outside and frantically tried to get Jordan down as she called 911. Paramedics rushed Jordan to the hospital, where he remained in a coma for 3 days before passing away. The death was declared an accident, with Jordan not taking the proper precautions and succumbing to oxygen deprivation. This is not the first accidental hanging on Halloween, and there have been countless more. In a story with a happier ending, a 17-year-old from St. Louis was working with a haunted house when her safety mechanism failed and she began to actually hang. Guests to the attraction walked by her, believing her struggling to be part of the act. Another employee did walk around and found her unconscious. He managed to get her down into the hospital, where she remained in a coma for 3 days. She made a full recovery, though it is probably safe to say she requested a different person at the attraction for the following year. Number 2. Stop sign defacement. Stop signs are important to follow, but have also become targets of humorous graffiti. However, one tragedy certainly crossed the line. 2 Ohio teens, Seth Stonerock and Derek Greenlee, area of Circleville decided to step up the usual stop sign defacement and cover one in petroleum jelly. On the night of August 17, 2011, the two implemented their plan and completely covered a stop sign in a ludicrous amount of jelly. Greenlee had a change of heart and was attempting to convince Stone Rock to stop, but the latter brushed him off as overreacting. The teens completed the prank and left, thinking it would just cause a minor nuisance. Sadly, 85-year-old Mary Spangler failed to see the sign under the jelly and ran through it, causing a car to collide head-on into the driver's side door. She died at the scene before help could arrive, and her sister Jeanne Shea was seriously injured, dying 3 weeks later. Shocked, Stone Rock and Greenlee turned themselves into authorities and were taken into custody. Both were charged with involuntary manslaughter before the courts, but Greenlee's charges were dismissed after it was determined he was an unwilling accomplice. Since he tried to talk Stone Rock out of the prank, Stone Rock pled guilty to the charges and was sentenced to 4 years in prison. Stone Rock showed remorse throughout the proceedings and tearfully apologized to the family for Spangler's and Shea's tragic deaths. Before we get to number 1, my name is Chills and I hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you've ever been curious as to what I look like in real life, then follow me on Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT with underscores instead of spaces. I also have a Twitter at YT_chills where I post video updates. I'd really appreciate it if you followed me, and feel free to send me a DM if you have any questions or suggestions. If you'd like to see more of these videos in the future, then hit that subscribe button because we upload new countdowns every Tuesday and Saturday. Number 1, the tragic case of Jacinta Solana. Prank calls are a classic and generally harmless form of fun amongst people practically since the telephone was invented. Radio programs have often incorporated them into their airtime as entertainment for listeners. Unfortunately, one incident placed a black mark on the traditional prank. On December 2, 2012, Kate Middleton and Prince William were awaiting the birth of their first child when Middleton was admitted to the hospital for a severe case of morning sickness. Middleton was resting in hospital when Australian radio hosts Mel Gregg and Mike Christian of Hot 30 Countdown in Sydney decided to make a prank call to the hospital. Gregg put on a comedic impression of the Queen as the call was connected. To the surprise of both hosts, receptionist Jacinta Solana believed Gregg to actually be the Queen and patched them through to Middleton's doctor. After checking with lawyers to make sure they were safe from any legal action, Hot 30 broadcasted the prank to listeners. While the hospital administration was not amused with the ruse, the prank garnered much press and public attention, with many finding the idea brilliant and hilarious. Sadly, Solana was deeply humiliated by the prank, and her guilt for falling for it built up over the next 2 days. On the morning of December 7th, hospital security found Solana dead in the hospital's nursing quarters, having hanged herself. Gregg and Christian expressed shock and sadness at the news and released a heartfelt apology to the hospital and Solana family. However, the owners of Hot 30 decided to cancel the show on January 27, 2013 due to the backlash the incident caused. Solana was buried in her native India with over 1,000 people in attendance. Thanks for checking out this video. Be sure to subscribe because we upload new countdowns every Tuesday and Saturday. Or if you're still not convinced, here are some of our other videos that I think you'd like. Enjoy!